I don't even know how to start this. I guess there's no real way to soften it. I cheated on my husband. And I got caught in the most humiliating, gut-wrenching way possible. I'm not here to make excuses, just to tell the truth. Maybe someone will read this and learn from my mistakes. Or maybe I just need to get it off my chest. The beginning of the end. My husband, Jake, is a good man. Not perfect, no one is, but good. We've been together for 9 years, married for 5. We had what people would call a solid marriage, stable, predictable, safe. Maybe that's part of why I did what I did. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who cheats. I used to roll my eyes at women who claimed they accidentally fell into an affair. It doesn't just happen, right? But now, standing in the wreckage of my own life, I get it. It started small. A guy from work, Ryan. He was new, charming, confident. He made me laugh in a way I hadn't in a long time. At first, it was harmless, coffee breaks, inside jokes, work lunches. Then one day, his hand brushed against mine, and I didn't pull away. That should have been the moment I stopped. But I didn't. I got reckless. I started meeting Ryan outside of work. Late-night drives, cheap motels, stolen hours. I convinced myself that as long as I kept my real life and my secret life separate, no one would get hurt. Jake had no idea. He trusted me. God, that trust, I see now
Friday.
how blindly he loved me.
Seattle met
He
me
never
with rain.
questioned when I got home late. Never asked why I
As
suddenly
always,
guarded my phone like a teenage
I rushed
girl
out of my
hiding
apartment
texts
later.
from her parents. But I knew I was playing with fire. That's why I got the burner phone. The mistake that ruined everything. It was a cheap, prepaid thing. Just for Ryan. I kept it in my car, tucked under the seat. I thought I was so smart. Thought I had every detail covered. Until one night, I got
Friday.
sloppy. I came home late from seeing Ryan and threw my purse onto the kitchen counter, too distracted to notice that my burner phone had slipped out. The next morning, I was in the shower when I heard Jake's voice. "Hey, babe, whose phone is this?" My stomach dropped. I froze, shampoo in my hair, my body suddenly ice-cold despite the hot water. No. No, no, no. I took my time rinsing, stalling, hoping, praying that he hadn't turned it on. Maybe I could play
And on
it
my
off.
coat, large brown
Say it was
stains.
an old phone. But when I stepped out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around me, Jake was standing in the bedroom doorway. The phone in his hand. His face unreadable. This was under the couch. The couch? I must have kicked it there last night without realizing. My heart was hammering. "Whose is it?" he asked again. I swallowed hard. I don't know. Maybe I found it at work. Jake stared at me.
But I never meant to hurt anyone.
Then he held the screen up.
I got caught up
Then
in
why are there
everything.
missed calls from Ryan?
It spiraled out of
That
control.
moment, right there.
Spare
I'll
us
never
the
forget the way his
excuses,
face
one of the
changed.
other women, Sarah,
The way his
said
eyes
sharply.
flickered from confusion to
You knew
realization
exactly
to
what you
pure,
were doing.
gut-deep heartbreak.
He turned to me, his
I felt
voice
the air
softer.
shift. It was like the moment before a car crash, when you know you're about to hit something, but you're powerless to stop it. The truth comes out. I tried to lie. God help me, I tried. I shook my head, laughed weakly. "Oh my God, babe, you think I'm cheating? That's insane." He didn't say anything. Just stared at me, his jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack.
Emily.
Then, without breaking eye contact, he swiped the screen. My texts to Ryan lit up the display.
You know me.
Last night
We had
was
something
amazing.
real.
I
I
can't
never
stop
wanted
thinking
things to
about
end
you.
like this.
Can we meet again
I
tomorrow?
raised my hand, cutting
Jake
him off.
read each one.
No,
His
Alec.
hands were shaking. His breathing was uneven. And then, softly. "How long?" I couldn't speak. He looked at me, really looked at me, like he didn't recognize the woman standing in front of him. And maybe he didn't. Maybe I wasn't the same woman he married. How long? He repeated, voice barely above a whisper. My throat was dry. My head was spinning. I couldn't hold his gaze. A few months. Jake let out a short, bitter laugh. He wiped a hand over his face, like he was trying to wake up from a bad dream. Then he looked back at me, and his eyes, God, his eyes, were the saddest thing I'd ever seen. I loved you. His voice cracked. I wanted to reach for him, to take it back, to rewind time and make a different choice. But it was too late. The damage was done. You need to leave. His voice was calm, but there was something final in it. Jake, please, can we leave, Emily? And just like that, my marriage was over. The aftermath. It's been weeks. Maybe months, I've lost track. Jake didn't yell. He didn't throw things. He just shut down. Moved out. Filed for divorce. He's gone, and I have to live with the fact that I did this. Ryan? That ended almost immediately. Funny how the thrill of something forbidden disappears when there are no more secrets. I see now that it was never about Ryan. It was about me, about something broken inside of me that I tried to fill with lies and lust. I used to think cheating was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. But it's not. It's a choice. A series of choices that lead to one inevitable, irreversible
Friday.
Conclusion.
Seattle
and now,
met me with
I
rain.
have to live with mine. At first, I tried to convince
always,
myself that maybe, just
I
maybe,
rushed out of
Jake
my
would
apartment
calm
later.
down. That he'd come back, and we'd work through this. I spent days staring at my phone, half expecting him to text. Nights lying awake, imagining him walking through the door. But he never did. Instead, the silence stretched between us like an ocean I had no idea how to cross. I didn't tell anyone the truth, not at first.
Friday.
When friends asked about Jake, I just mumbled something about taking space. But eventually, the rumors started. People talk. And when the truth came out, it hit me in waves. One by one, I watched people pick sides. Jake's sister, Emma, blocked me. She'd always been like a real sister to me, but now? Nothing. His best friend, Caleb, who used to call me M like I was part of their group, sent me a single text. I hope it was worth it. That one stung.
And on my coat, large
Because
brown
it wasn't.
stains.
It never was. I wasn't just mourning the loss of my marriage, I was
God.
mourning the loss of everything. The life we built. The friends we shared. The home that now felt hollow without him. And the worst part? I had no one to blame but myself. The message I didn't expect. I was sitting in my tiny, half-empty apartment one night, staring at old photos of us, when my phone lit up. Jake. I swear
But I
my
never
heart
meant to
stopped.
hurt anyone.
I
I
hesitated
got
before opening
caught
the
up in
text,
everything.
my fingers trembling.
It spiraled out of
I need
control.
to pick up the rest of my things
Spare
this
us the
weekend.
excuses, one of the
Will
other
you be
women,
home?
Sarah, said
That was
sharply.
it.
You
No
knew
anger.
exactly what you were doing.
No questions.
He turned to me, his
Just
voice
cold,
softer.
distant words. I typed a reply, erased it, typed again. I wanted to say so much. I miss you. I'm sorry. Can we talk? But I knew none of it would matter. Instead, I just wrote. Yeah. I'll be here. I read it back, hating how final it felt. The last goodbye. Saturday came too fast. I spent the morning pacing, trying to
Emily.
make the apartment look, I don't know, better. Like I wasn't completely falling apart without
You
him.
know me.
When Jake
We had
finally
something
knocked,
real.
I had to take a deep
I never
breath
wanted
before
things to
opening the
end like
door.
this.
And there
I
he
raised
was.
my hand, cutting him
Same
off.
Jake, but not the same.
No, Alec.
He looked different, lighter, somehow. Like he'd already moved on. And maybe he had. His eyes barely met mine as he stepped inside, brushing past me without a word. He gathered his things quickly, methodically. I just stood there, arms wrapped around myself, watching, waiting for something. Then, just as he was about to leave, he stopped at the door. "I don't hate you." The words were so quiet I almost didn't hear them. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I don't hate you either." A pause. A breath. And then he was gone. Life after Jake. It's been almost a year now. Some days are easier than others. Some days, I convince myself that I've grown, that I've learned, that I'm better now. Other days, I wake up reaching for him, only to remember he's never coming back. I've thought about reaching out, just to talk, just to hear his voice. But what would I even say? "Hey, remember me? The woman who shattered your heart and ruined everything?" Yeah, no. So I let him go. Just like he let me go. I lost Jake, and I deserved to. And maybe that's the lesson. That sometimes, the consequences of our actions aren't just about what we lose, but about knowing we'll never get it back. The weight of regret. Regret is a funny thing. People say it fades, that time heals everything. But I don't think that's true. Time doesn't erase what I did, it just gives me space to sit with it. And let me tell you, sitting with it hurts. I think about Jake all the time. Not in a romantic way, not anymore, but in a what-if way. What if I had been honest with him before it got too far? What if I had stopped myself? What if I had just been
Friday.
better? But there's no
Seattle
changing
met
the
me with
past.
rain.
There's no taking it back.
As
Instead,
always.
I live with the version of
I
my
rushed
life
out of
that
my
I
apartment
chose.
later.
The one where I am alone. When I saw him again. It happened when I least expected it. I was at the grocery store, staring blankly at a shelf of cereal, when I heard someone laugh. A laugh I knew too well. I turned, and there he was. Jake. And he wasn't alone. She was with him, tall,
Friday.
dark hair, pretty in that effortless way. She was pushing a cart while he reached for something on a high shelf, making some dumb joke that had her giggling. It was like a punch to the gut. Not because I was still in love with him, but because I was looking at something I had once had, something I had destroyed. I should have walked away. But instead, I just froze. Jake must have felt me staring because he turned. Our eyes met, and for a second, neither of us moved. Then, just like that, he nodded.
And on
A
my
simple,
coat, large
almost
brown
polite
stains.
gesture. And then he went back to her. No anger.
God.
No resentment. Just indifference. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. Trying to move on. After that day, I made a decision. I had spent so much time drowning in my guilt, punishing myself, replaying my mistakes like some cruel, never-ending movie. But Jake had moved on. And if he could, I had to try. So,
But I never
I
meant to
started
hurt
making
anyone.
changes.
I got
went to
caught
therapy.
up in everything.
Finally faced
It
the ugly
spiraled out
parts
of control.
myself, the parts that led
Spare
me
us
to
the
cheat in the first
excuses,
place.
one of the other women,
The
Sarah,
insecurity,
said
the
sharply.
selfishness, the craving
You knew
for
exactly
validation
what you
from
were
the wrong
doing.
places.
He turned to
I
me,
stopped
his
looking
voice
for
softer.
distractions, stopped trying to fill the void with meaningless hookups or empty conversations. Instead, I let myself be alone. I let myself feel everything. And slowly, so slowly, I started to heal. The truth about second chances. Do I deserve a second chance? Probably not. But I want one. Not with Jake, that door is closed forever, but with life. Because the truth
Emily.
is, I made a terrible, selfish choice. And it cost me everything. But that
You know
doesn't
me.
mean I have to stay broken
We had
forever.
something real.
I don't know
I
if
never
I'll ever
wanted
trust
things to
myself
end like
love
this.
someone again.
I raised
But
my
I do know
hand,
one thing.
cutting him off.
If I ever get
No,
that chance,
Alec.
I will never take it for granted again. The final chapter. Healing isn't linear. Some days, I feel like I've finally made peace with my past. Other days, I wake up with the weight of it pressing down on my chest like a stone I can't shake off. But that's life, isn't it? You live, you make mistakes, and you carry them with you. Some mistakes define you. Others just become scars, reminders of what you survived. Jake never reached out again. And I never tried to force a conversation that wasn't mine to have. He deserved peace, and I had taken enough from him already. The last time I heard about him, a friend mentioned it casually over drinks one night. He's engaged. I smiled. Genuinely. Because he deserved that happiness. A love without betrayal, without secrets, without the weight of broken trust. I won't lie and say it didn't sting a little. Not because I wanted him back, but because it was proof that life moves on, even when you think it never will. Who I am now. I don't recognize the woman I was a year ago. She was selfish. Reckless. Hungry for something she thought was missing, but in reality, she had everything she ever needed. Now. I don't know who I'll become, but I know I want to be better. I still wake up alone. I still hear the echoes of my choices in the quiet moments of my life. But I no longer look in the mirror and see a woman running from herself. I see someone who finally stopped. Someone who finally faced the damage she caused. And maybe, just maybe, that's the first step toward redemption.